I didn't answer, but looked at him and said, "Uncle Chow, let's go outside and talk." Uncle Chow nodded, and then I walked out with Uncle Chow with everyone's surprised expressions. "You kid came to sing here, and you didn't come to see Lao Tzu. What's the matter? I don't recognize you, Uncle Chow. Don't forget that Lao Tzu helped you teach Chow Seer a lesson last time." Uncle Chow handed me a cigarette and said to me with a straight face, pretending to be angry. I took the cigarette and hurriedly licked my face and said to him, "Uncle, I'm not afraid that you will be busy, so I am embarrassed to disturb you. But uncle, they are all my classmates, can you raise your noble hand and let them go this time?" Although I didn't want to, I interceded for them. After all, Qin Ranxue is Musia's best friend, and I don't want Musia to be sad. "I know they're your classmates. You just came to Lao Tzu and saw you. It's just that you kid didn't see Lao Tzu. This scene is also deliberately done by Lao Tzu for you." Paralyzed, Lao Hua's nephews dare to bully, and it is still in Lao Tzu's place. Lao Tzu doesn't teach them a lesson, they really don't know how many eyes Ma Wangyi has. Well, it turns out that Uncle Chow did this on purpose, just to help me get angry. I have to say that Uncle Chow's acting skills are really good, enough to win the Oscar for Best Bad Guy. Maybe Uncle Chow is performing in his true colors. He is originally mixed with society, and he is social, and he is likely to do these things. "Uncle, what if I choose not to help them?" I asked Uncle Chow. Uncle Chow looked at me with a smile on his cigarette. "Then I will really sleep with Qin Dazhuang's baby daughter tonight. Anyway, the dog's day is almost over. Even if I sleep with his daughter, he doesn't dare to make trouble with Lao Tzu. Otherwise, Lao Tzu will kill him." I can see that Uncle Chow is really performing in his true colors. He is a bad guy with ruthless means. "By the way, Uncle, how much is that flower pot of yours worth?" I was very curious about this. Uncle Chow whispered to me mysteriously, 10 yuan. I went, 10 yuan a flower. He actually asked Zhou Bao to compensate a total of 500,000 yuan. "It's black. And buy one get one free." Uncle Chow smoked a cigarette and continued. "Me. Awesome, worthy of being a social person. Okay, Uncle is just to teach them a lesson. Let's go inside." Uncle Chow patted me on the shoulder and went in with me. As soon as we entered, all eyes were on us. "Since Xiao Yuan has helped you guys speak, then this matter will be settled. Fuck off, don't let me see you fucking bad guys in the future," Uncle Chow said with a social look on his face, and then walked out with people outside. I gave them a cold look, and was about to go out with Musia. But Zhou Baogong stopped me. "Zhang Yuan, did you know that the boss here was your uncle early on, so you would treat us like this?" I looked at him and said directly, "Stupid. Zhang Yuan, you're so insidious. Lao Tzu told you that this matter Lao Tzu is not finished with you, and Lao Tzu will settle this account with you sooner or later." But before he finished speaking, Uncle Chow walked in with someone pushing the door again. He waved his hand, and several thugs rushed towards him, punching and kicking him. Dog's day, Lao Tzu dared to jump before he went far. You're really underwhelmed. Now that Lao Tzu has cleaned you up like this, you have come to settle the account with Lao Tzu. Uncle Chow scolded Zhou Baogong, who was being beaten, with an angry face. I smiled gratefully at Uncle Chow, and then walked outside with Musia. And Qin Ranxue hurriedly chased her out, and she kept begging me to help her. But I ignored her, got into the car with Musia, and sent her back. Musia's birthday was messed up by Qin Ranxue and Zhou Baogong, and I wonder if I will help her make up for her birthday next time. When Musia entered the community, I just turned the head of the car. Qin Ranxue immediately got out of the side, then pulled the car door and sat in the co-pilot. I immediately turned my head and looked at Qin Ranxue angrily and said, "Are you bothered? I won't help you when I say it. You'd better find another way." I'm also convinced, why is this Qin Ranxue sticking to me like sticky candy? Zhang Yuan, if you don't help me, then from now on, I will follow you wherever you go. I'll follow you when you eat, follow you when you go to the toilet, and you sleep. Speaking of this, Qin Ranxue's pretty face immediately turned red, but she still said stubbornly, "I'll stand next to you when you sleep, and I'll follow you." I'll go. Do I owe you or owe you? Can you not stick to me? Okay, it's annoying, okay? Then I'll ask you to get out of the car. As long as you get out of the car, then you can follow as much as you like. I won't care about you, as long as you don't affect my life," I said to her with a serious expression. But she sat in the passenger seat and ignored me at all. "I don't. If you have the ability, you can drive me out of the car." Looking at her like a second child, I directly pulled the car door and got out of the car, then walked over and pulled the passenger seat and said to her, "You get down, this is my car, I'm going back to sleep now." Shin Ranchua looked at me with wide eyes, and said pitifully, "Zhang Yuan, you see that the sky is so dark, and there are no cars around. You see a beautiful woman like me walking on the street by herself. What if a bad person wants to cheat on me? Then you go to Musia's house and stay with her at night. I just want to go home and sleep right now," I said again. When Shin Ranchua saw me say this, she immediately began to wipe her tears, and then directly buried her head and cried. Well, seeing her like this, I really couldn't bear to drive her out of the car. I sighed, closed the door, walked over and sat in the driver's seat and started the car. "Where do you live? I'll send you back," I said to her as I drove the car. She ignored me, lowered her head and began to pick up her phone and play. I took a look, and she was still in the mood to have fun. I'll go, her heart is really big, she was crying so sad just now, and now she's in the mood to play games right away. It is said that women turn their faces faster than they turn books, and I saw it today. I'll go, you're so dished, you can't pass this level? I was also speechless, she couldn't pass it after playing so many times in one level. And having so much fun, I don't even know where the fun lies in her. Shin Ranchua smiled at me awkwardly, I've played this level many times, but I just can't get through. Me? I thought you were playing such a fart, so unload it early. On the way, I asked her several times where she lived, but she didn't respond to me. Looks like she's really decided to stick to me, and since you're going to do this, then don't blame me for bringing you back to my house. Shin Ranchua was originally a big beauty, and she was also very beautiful. If I can bring her back to my house, then we will have another unspeakable story. I couldn't help but make up the picture in my head. Anyway, she was going to follow herself. Even if I did something to her, I can't blame me. Parking the car downstairs, I opened the door and headed outside. Shin Ranchua hurriedly got out of the car and followed. If you continue to follow me in again, then you will really be a lonely man and a widow. If I do something to you, don't blame me then. After all, you are so beautiful and a big beauty, and I am a man with strong blood, I may not be able to help it at any time. Turning my head to look at Shin Ranchua, who was following me closely, I said to her. She was a little scared when she saw me say this, but after thinking about it for a while, she plucked up the courage to say to me, I'm not afraid, I know you like Sia. If you dare to do anything to me, then Sia will hate you for the rest of your life. Seeing that my intimidation tactics didn't work, I walked straight to the front, took out the key, opened the door, and walked inside. Shin Ranchua hesitated outside for a moment, and then followed. Wow, I didn't expect Zhang Yuan, where your little driver lives, would be so good. As soon as she entered the house, Shin Ranchua looked around and said to me. I turned my head and looked at her with a dark face. She immediately realized that she had said the wrong thing, and then hurriedly said to me, I'm sorry, I'm used to it, don't be angry, really don't be angry. I gave her a blank look and ignored her. Just walk over and throw your car keys on the table and go in and wash up. After I finished washing, I went back to my room, but as soon as I was lying on the bed, Shin Ranchua walked into my room from the outside. You don't really want to sleep with me, do you? I was lying on the bed and asked Shin Ranchua, who was standing in front of the bed in surprise. Her pretty face was immediately smeared with a blush. Shin Ranchua can also be regarded as a rich girl, she has money in her family, and she is beautiful, and she usually has many people surrounding her wherever she goes. Not to mention sleeping in the same bed with other men, she hadn't even been to other men's homes before. Of course, there were many men who wanted her to go, but she coldly refused. In fact, Shin Ranchua herself was also very apprehensive and uneasy in her heart. After all, it was the first time she had stayed in a room with a man so late, and if I suddenly made a mistake for her, she wouldn't have anything to do with me. Alright, I'm really not in the mood to mess with you. Either I'll send you back, or you'll go back yourself. I'm tired and going to sleep. I'm also helpless, why is she so clingy? Shin Ranchua looked at me with a stubborn expression. I said that if you don't help me, then I will always follow you. When you sleep, I stand here and watch you sleep. No, sister, you let me go. I really don't have a special habit of being watched and sleeping on the sidelines. I immediately stood up and said to her. But she looked at me with a provocative expression, and I was helpless when I saw this. Since you're going to stand there and watch me sleep, then you can do whatever you want. I immediately lay down and covered the quilt to go to sleep. But Chin Ranchue still didn't mean to leave, so she just stood there and looked at me. I'll go, it's good that I have the lights on, otherwise when I get up and see her standing there, it won't scare me to death. The so-called out of sight and out of mind, I directly covered my head with the quilt and fell asleep. But when I slept vaguely, I faintly heard a cough. I lifted the quilt and looked up to see Chin Ranchue still standing there, still sneezing. Looks like she's got a cold. Although I was haunted by what she had done to me before, she was a woman after all, and she was a big beauty. She's really pitiful. I hurriedly picked up the remote control of the air conditioner on the bedside table next to me, turned on the air conditioner, and then turned it into a heater. Chin Ranchue held her weak body with both hands, and she couldn't help but sneeze coldly. I picked up my phone and looked at it. It was already 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was difficult for her to get a taxi back when she went out. And I was very reluctant to get up and send her. Sister, let's not make trouble, okay? I said to her speechlessly. She blinked her pretty eyebrows, and a sly expression appeared on her pretty face. Okay, as long as you promise to help me, then I'll leave immediately. I frowned. Impossible. I said I wouldn't help you. I wouldn't help you. You did that to me before, and now you want me to help you. How is this possible? I'm not stingy, but I'm not arrogant either. I said I wouldn't help if I wouldn't help. Chin Ranchue's face was cold. She bit her lip lightly, and then stepped on high heels and came over and sat on the edge of the bed on the other side. Then she put down her bag, took off the high heels on her feet and slept directly on the bed, and then pulled the quilt at her side violently. I'll go. What are you going to do? I immediately got up and stood under the bed, looking at her in shock. I said what I was going to do to her, but I was just saying that if I really wanted something to happen to her, it would definitely be impossible. Because I only like Musia, and she is Musia's best friend. If I really do something with her, then I and Musia will be completely finished before we start. What are you doing? I'm sleeping. Why can you sleep comfortably in bed while I have to stand next to you and watch you coldly? I'm stupid, I'm stupid. Chin Ranchue hugged the quilt tightly and said to me. No, you sleep here, so where do I sleep? I asked her, biting my lip. She gave me a blank look. I'll take care of you. You can sleep on the ground if you want, you can go to other rooms if you want, or go to the living room outside to sleep. I'm asleep, you can do it yourself. I'll go. This Chin Ranchue is crazy. I slept alone in this house, and I didn't clean up the other rooms at all, and I couldn't live in them at all. And I usually come here with Uncle Hua, and he doesn't live with me, so I didn't buy other quilts. In other words, the whole house is just this quilt on my bed. She has built it now, so what will I build? Sister, this whole house is just such a quilt. What did you cover me? And this is my bed. You have to ask my permission to sleep on it, right? I said with some exasperation. Chin Ranchue opened her eyes and looked at me. I'll take care of you. I'll sleep here tonight anyway. As for you, you can figure it out for yourself. This bed belongs to me tonight. Chin Ranchue, you're too domineering. This is my house, and you sleep in my bed. Now you don't care about me, and let me figure it out by myself? You take yourself too seriously, don't you? I was very angry, but Chin Ranchue hugged the quilt tightly and closed her eyes. Just like she said, she didn't mean to care about me at all. Okay, you don't care, then I don't care. I went straight to bed, pulled the quilt this way, and put it right on my body. Chin Ranchue immediately opened her eyes, and then looked at me with a surprised expression. Zhang Yuan, are you sure you want to sleep in the same bed with me? I ask you to figure it out. This is my bed. What's wrong with sleeping in my own bed now? If you don't want to, then you cannot sleep out. I said as I looked at her with my eyes open. Her face was angry, and her cheeks were bulging. She turned around and went back to sleep. I ignored her, turned around and turned my back to her, turned off the light, and fell asleep. But vaguely, my body suddenly touched Qin Ranxue's soft body, her body trembled obviously, and then her body moved up to the side. I turned around suddenly, and with a roll of my eyes, I had a solution. Looking at Qin Ranxue's back, I hugged her from behind, and my body was tightly attached to her back. Qin Ranxue was frightened by my sudden blow, she immediately screamed, and then struggled violently. She was originally a big beauty, beautiful and with a good figure. When I leaned on her body, I could clearly smell the fragrance of her body and the softness of her body. And because our bodies were close together, I was still pressed against her full buttocks. Zhang Yuan, let me tell you, if you dare to do anything to me, I'll definitely tell Musia tomorrow that I know you like her. If you let her know, she won't forgive you. Qin Ranxue struggled frantically in my arms, crying and shouting at me. I let go of her, and then got out of bed and stood on the ground, seeing that she was tightly hugging the quilt covering her body, and she was constantly sobbing. My heart softened, and I apologized to her and said, "Don't worry, I don't have any thoughts about you, I just want to scare you away. Not intentionally. Zhang Yuan, you bully me, you are a big bastard." Qin Ranxue said to me crying under the quilt. I exhaled, "I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to. I just want to scare you away and stop clinging to me." But Qin Ranxue was still sobbing under the quilt. I sighed, walked out to the balcony, pulled out a cigarette and started smoking. After taking a while, Qin Ranxue shouted to me inside, "Zhang Yuan, come in, it's quite cold outside, I forgive you." I tossed the cigarette butt to the ground and stepped on it, and walked inside. Qin Ranxue stood up and looked at me with red eyes. "You can come up and sleep, but you can't touch me. Otherwise, I'll tell Musia tomorrow that she'll hate you for the rest of her life." I need her permission to sleep in my own bed? But it's so late now, I just want to sleep now, and I don't want to mess with her. I sighed, climbed into bed, turned my back on her, turned off the light and fell asleep. I didn't say anything all night, and when I woke up the next day, I found Qin Ranxue standing at the table next to me, turning something in her hand. When I saw it, I immediately straightened up, and then hurriedly said, "Put it down, who told you to turn over my things?" My sudden shout startled Qin Ranxue, and she immediately fell to the ground with the diary in her hand. I hurriedly got up and picked up the diary, and then hurried to see if it had been broken. "Right. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have flipped through your stuff." Qin Ranxue apologized to me apologetically. "But since you like Sia so much, why don't you confess to her?" I put the journal away. I wanted to be angry with her. But seeing her concern for me, I was embarrassed to be angry with her. "Nothing, it's none of your business. Now that it's dawn, go back by yourself. Don't stick to me anymore," I said to her with a cold face. But she looked at me curiously. "Tell me, why didn't you confess to her?" My expression immediately became angry. I said that this matter has nothing to do with you, I'll let you go. When Qin Ranxue saw me murdering her like this, she immediately cried aggrievedly, and tears immediately flowed out of her eyes. "What are you fierce? You are fierce. I'm a girl, why are you so fierce to others?" Seeing that she was really crying, I was immediately helpless. "Because I don't dare, I'm afraid that she won't like me and then reject me." I sighed and said to her in a much softer tone, "What's not to dare? If you don't try, how do you know if she likes you or not? And I've asked her before, and she seems to mean that to you." Qin Ranxue wiped the tears from her eyes and said to me. As soon as I heard this, I immediately looked at her excitedly. "Is she really interesting to me?" Qin Ranxue rolled her eyes at me, and then said, "Probably interesting. Zhang Yuan, it's not me talking about you. What are you afraid of confessing as a big man? You can chase her if you want to." I sighed, put the journal on the table, and I sat on the edge of the bed and lit a cigarette. "You don't understand. I liked her, and I started to like her when I was in college. But at that time, wherever I went, I was said to be the son of a drug dealer, and that I was a toad to her and wanted to eat swan meat. So I didn't dare to confess to her at that time. I was afraid that she would look down on me too. And now, although I am not as inferior as before, maybe I have been afraid for a long time, so I am more and more afraid to confess to her, afraid of rejection, so I can only write my love for her into this diary." Qin Ranxue listened carefully to me, and then said to me very sincerely, "I'm sorry, I remember that I said that about you before. I was just trying to protect Sia, because she was my best friend, and I thought she could find a good man, so I said that about you at that time, and I wanted you to dispel the idea of Sia. But I didn't expect that incident to hurt you so much. I shook my head. Forget it, I won't talk about the past. I'm going to pick her up from work, and I'll send you with me. Shin Ranchue nodded, and she followed me and walked outside. We got in the car, and I drove to pick up Musia. But she had to prepare some papers, and she had to wait for her to come down in a while, so I asked me to go up and wait for her. I immediately got out of the car with Shin Ranchue and prepared to wait for her. Shin Ranchue and I will definitely not tell her about last night's incident, for fear that she will misunderstand. And we were going to tell Musia that we met on the road, so we came together. But as we were about to enter the community, a bastard came out of a flower bed. He had a small head, a white wrinkled shirt on his upper body, and a pair of washed white jeans underneath, and his face was fierce. And he has tattoos of various colors and shapes on his arms, and he looks like a little bastard in society. He stood in front of us, looking at me with a cigarette in his mouth and a ruffian look on his face. Shin Ranchue was immediately frightened, and she hurriedly hid behind me. It seems that Chen Xiao is right, you really come here every morning to pick up Musia to go to work. I didn't wait that long in vain. He said to me with a cigarette in his mouth. Less money? He's actually Qin Fei Gong's stupid thug who came to clean me up? But he's the wrong person, she's not Musia. Dude, I want you to clean it up, and it has nothing to do with her, she's not Musia. If you want to avenge Qin Fei Gong, find me, don't embarrass her, let her go. I said to him with a wary face. After all, looking at his appearance, he won't be an ordinary character, and that idiot of Qin Fei Gong dared to ask him to clean me up, so there must be something unique about this person. He smiled and said to me, don't worry, I won't do it to you this time, and Xian Xiao didn't tell me to do it to you. The reason why I'm squatting here this time is because I don't have enough money, so I can show you something. Show me something? What the hell does that idiot Qin Fei Gong want to do? He walked over and threw a phone at me. I picked up my phone in confusion and clicked on the video above to take a look. Looking at the people in the video, my eyes widened directly. Because the people in the video are Musia and Qin Fei Gong, and they are naked on a hotel bed at this time, Qin Fei Gong is holding his mobile phone while recording and galloping on Musia's snow-white body. Seeing this scene, what else can I not understand? It turns out that what Qin Fei Gong said before is true, Musia has really been with him before, and they have had a relationship. Musia's body was really rotten by Qin Fei Gong. Then why did she lie to me before? Why did she say that she hadn't been with Qin Fei Gong? I grabbed my claws and nails with both hands and scraped the ground stiffly, looking at the large-scale movements in the video with red eyes. My expression was very hideous. I threw my phone to the ground and punched him in the face when he was unprepared. He was knocked back 2 steps by me, and I grabbed a brick from the ground with red eyes and was about to smash it at him. Damn, it's really a bad master. He rubbed his face, turned around and quickly slipped into a flower stand. I held up the brick and slammed it at him, but it didn't hit him. He fled quickly. Looking at his vanishing figure, I let out a cry of pain with red eyes, then turned and ran outside. Zhang Yuan, Zhang Yuan. Shin Ranchue shouted desperately at me in the back. I ignored her, ran to my car frantically, opened the door and sat in the driver's seat. I slammed the fire and rushed out quickly. I drove frantically towards the front, and my mind was full of scenes of Musia and Qin Fei Gong having sex naked in the hotel. I was extremely angry in my heart. At this time I just wanted to rush to Qin Fei Gong's house, and then find that scumbag to settle accounts. At this point, I'm already crazy, and I don't care about it. As long as I can do it, I am willing to give everything. Boom! Someone suddenly crossed the road in front of me, and I immediately struck the direction and drove directly into the green belt on the side, and the car rolled out violently. Then I ran out of instincts. By the time I woke up, I was in the hospital. My leg was broken from the blow and I was put in a cast. In the past few days in the hospital ward, Shin Ranchue has been taking care of me on the side. Musia has also called me many times in the past few days, but I haven't answered. Zhang Yuan, Sia called you again.